Hey, so welcome everyone to another episode of Bricks and Dragons. We actually are startups and dragons, and we're here with Christina Drake today from Kismet Technologies. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And we always like to start by asking people, what drew you to solve this particular problem? Maybe tell people a little bit about, what you do and how you kind of got into this field.
Yeah, so we invented a new dry residual disinfectant, which there aren't really many of those that exist that are safe for human contact. And so at the beginning of the pandemic, I still remember going to a grocery store and watching someone try to disinfect a surface and then wipe it off. And it just irritated me so much that I went home and started looking at how disinfectants work. And 2 days later, me and another person who's one of my PIs from the University of Central Florida came up with the idea for NanoRad, which is the product we're working on. That's a dry residual disinfectant.
What's a PI for people who don't know?
A principal investigator. So he's a university researcher who has, 2 to 3 decades of expertise in the material system that we're working in. And I think it was just as a youngster, I got so sick with pneumonia because I was a severe asthmatic. And I think part of why it irritated me so bad, the whole watching someone try to disinfect a surface, it just reminded me of being sick. And I think I felt like I had to do something.
Oh, well, that's a really interesting story. And so who's the end user of your product, and how do you find them? Do you license what you're doing to kind of like another company and they disseminate it? Are you going direct to consumer? Kind of who you're trying to get this in the hands of, and how do you find them?
Yeah, so our business model is B2B. So we are selling to companies that already have relationships with customers in the disinfection space. So those are companies in the US and outside of the US. But we actually have a target customer group, end user group. So we're focused on hospitals and healthcare providers. So we've actually done interviews with those type of customers to better understand how to actually get rid of infectious disease on surface.
Awesome. And that's it's always good to start having like those 100 customer conversations, while you're building. So and this is the part where we either ask you about your greatest weakness or superpower. We flip a coin here. And you got heads, so superpower, and you get plus 2 at the end, handicap. So what is something only Christina can do, or that you're the best at in the company, that where you really shine?
I'm super tenacious, so I don't really let go of things. So once I start doing something, I'm the last person to. Yeah. So I'm very tenacious.
All right, I think that's a good thing for a founder to be. And then something all founders kind of struggle with is, when's the right time to optimize what you have and improve your margins, or when's the right time to grow? How do you think about growth, and when is it right to kind of either bring on that additional person or buy that new piece of equipment to expand versus kind of hunker down and optimize what you have?
I think if you're going to grow past an initial idea, you have to have some traction somewhere before you take a step forward, because you don't want to start building or working on something that doesn't solve a real problem that people are willing to pay money for. So I think that even though it's kind of tedious, you actually need to go and talk to customers and do those customer interviews and make sure that the idea you have for your business is something that has real world implications before you go and build a team, go get money, all those things.
Yeah, great. Like revenue is the ultimate arbiter of traction. And how do you stay on your own journey? How do you stay kind of physically, mentally healthy, especially in the early stages? There's a lot of all different types of stress that founders face. Is there anything that I see some guitars in the background? Is that the outlet there?
Actually, those are my husband's and my son's. I wake up early in the morning, so I actually do a lot of my work in the early morning through lunch. And so pretty much from the time, I don't know, I'd say like dinner on, I actually usually don't work unless it's something really important, so that I have a buffer, because I do have two small children. Um, and
Me
so it's
too.
very important to me that I have a relationship with them and I see them. But yeah, I wake up at like 5:30 in the morning and I'm pretty much going until, about 4 or 5. So I get a good, 10 or 11 hours in each day.
Yeah, I've been trying to I've varying degrees of success, but I've been trying to wake up earlier as well. I'm not as good at unplugging as it sounds like you are after. And this is the time where you meet the wizard. You give your younger self some advice here in a category. You got number 5, funding. What have you kind of learned about obtaining funding, or how to raise capital, kind of in your journey so far?
Yeah, I think one of the things that it struck me at some point, when I was putting together a pitch, which actually you helped me with the original one, when I was like, what goes into a pitch?
You were helping
Um,
with like grants.
yeah, that's how new I am to this game. But was just, if someone was coming to me and asking for, like 50 or $100,000, what would I want to know? And that's now how I view my pitches, is if I'm going to someone, and obviously, to some people that is like a ton of money, and to some people that's a drop in the bucket. But whatever that amount is for you, that would be painful to let go of. If someone was coming to you with an idea for something that might make it big, what would you want to know? And so I answered those questions that I would want to know. And I feel like I'm better at talking to people, who might be potential investors, because I've answered those questions for myself.
That's great. We've never had that answer before, and I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think that's a great way to think about it. And then sometimes different people watching might see this. Maybe they can help you solve a challenge. What's the challenge that you're facing currently, and how are you trying to overcome it, or what's kind of the big hairy obstacle that's in your way at the moment?
I think there's too many things that I want to do all at once, and there's only 24 hours in a day. And like I said earlier, right, like I've made a point that basically from the time my kids are here and we have dinner, I don't, for the most part, don't do work stuff. Although I will say sometimes I get on my phone and do things. But I think prioritizing task has been, knowing which things are really need to get done right now versus the things I want to get done, has been my biggest challenge. So I'm a technical person, so I tend to prioritize technical tasks, over like bookkeeping and HR, and sometimes that's not the most important thing. Sometimes doing your monthly, end of the month bookkeeping stuff is actually more important than a test that you want to do in the lab. So that's actually been, one of my biggest challenges as a technical founder, is balancing, and prioritizing the business side just as much as the technical side.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't consider myself a technical founder. Kind of, we do the 2x2. We're big fans of the 2x2 for projects of kind of, what's urgent and high value, kind of grid with Post-its. But then for some of the other things, I'm a big believer in the calendar. So like, I always have in the calendar, bookkeeping. I kind of schedule it, and I like live and die by my calendar. I know not everyone can do that, but like the flip side is, if it's not in my calendar, it's never going to happen. Like, so people who aren't like that, if it's not scheduled in my calendar, like it doesn't fit to my world. So there's pros and cons to everything. And then we're coming toward the end of our journey where you meet the dragon. You got +2 before, and we roll a 20-sided die. Tell me when to stop. We'll see what you get here.
Stop.
All right, so you got 10 + 2, so you got 12. So you wound the dragon and you win $50. Send us either Venmo or PayPal. We always encourage people to invest in someone on the My Venture platform when they come on the podcast. No legal obligation to do so. And then if Christina, you also have a campaign currently on the platform. So I
Yes.
definitely want to encourage anyone out there to log on to my venture and learn more about Kismet, Christina's company. If there's anything that's not answered in the campaign, you can ask the founder a question. Everyone on the platform is super responsive. So you can learn about any questions you have. And then is there anything else that you want people to know before we leave, or anything that could be helpful that, maybe you're looking for, you just want people to know?
I think if people are interested in starting a company, if you've thought about it before, I feel like because of the disruption with COVID and just the changes in how work's being done, and how people, just lifestyle changes in terms of how people approach things, now is a great time to start a company. So if you've been thinking about it, if you don't do it now, you probably won't do it. So just like do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that watch this, so there's 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 never a good time or a bad time to start a company. So why not now?
Yeah, this
Um,
is a great time to shift people, the way people do things, and to introduce something new to them, because I think people are more receptive to it right now.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thanks.
Uh, how do I end this? Ah, there we go.
I love